Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. And all three dogs are sitting on the sofa with me, enjoying the air conditioning. So, today we're doing another anticipated releases video through the end of the year, and we're going to talk about fantasy and books about books. So, there's only a couple in fantasy, so let's do fantasy first. And first up, releasing on the 2nd of September 2025, would be Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. As you know, I absolutely loved her Divine Rivals duology, even though it is best classified as young adult fantasy. Shocking even me. And so I am excited about this release. I will read you the back. True love is more divine than any ruthless god. Born in the firelit domain of the Underrealm, Matilda is the youngest goddess of her clan, blessed with humble messenger magic. But in a land where gods often kill each other to steal power and alliances break as quickly as are forged, Matilda must come of age sooner than most. She may be known to carry words and letters through the realms, but she holds a secret she must hide from even her dearest of allies to ensure her survival. And to complicate matters, there is a mortal boy who dreams of her, despite the fact they have never met in the waking world. 10 years ago, Vincent of Beckett wrote to Matilda on the darkest night of his life, begging the goddess he befriended in dreams to help him. When his request went unanswered, Vincent moved on, becoming the hardened, irreverent Lord of the River who has long forgotten Matilda. That is, until she comes tumbling into his bedroom window with a letter for him. As fate would have it, Matilda and Vincent were destined to find each other beyond dreams. There may be a chance for Matilda to rewrite the blood-soaked ways of the gods, but at an immense sacrifice. She will have to face something she fears even more than losing her magic, to be vulnerable and to allow herself to finally be loved. All I can say is, yes, please. Just yes, please. Okay, also on the 2nd of September would be a new to me author, The Book of Lost Hours by Haley Gelfuso, a new to me author, and this would fit in the books about books category as well, but it fits better here. So, Nuremberg, 1938. Lisbeth Levy's watchmaker father saves her from the Nazis by pushing her through a mysterious doorway. There, she discovers time space, a vast, magical library where memories of the past are stored in books. Her father promises he will follow, but when he doesn't, Elizabeth becomes trapped, destined to walk through the memories of those who have lived before. When she discovers timekeepers are entering the library with the mandate to decide whose memories survive and whose are destroyed, Elizabeth tries to salvage scraps of the past as best she can, creating her own book of lost memories, until one day, in 1949, she meets an American timekeeper named Ernst Duquesne, who is intent on keeping Elizabeth from her task. What ensues has the power to change the course of history. Boston, 1965. Amelia Duquesne is mourning her uncle Ernest when an enigmatic CIA agent approaches her to enlist her help in tracking down a strange book her uncle had once sought. But when Amelia enters the time space for the first time, She realizes that the past and the truth might not be as linear as she'd like to believe. It sounds fascinating and one of those I need to know kind of books. Okay, releasing on the 16th of September would be The Fairy Morgana by Louisa Morgan, another new to me author. And I will read you the blurb. To the other priestesses of the Nine, a powerful council at the Ladies' Temple. Morgana is haughty and arrogant as she performs feats of magic no human should be capable of. Rumors start that she must be a fearsome fae. To King Arthur, Morgana is trusted and devoted advisor, but his court is wary of her and her prodigious talent at divination. But his wife sees Morgana as a rival and a malevolent witch. To Braith, Morgana's faithful acolyte, she is simply the most powerful priestess Camelot has seen. Morgana doesn't know why she's so different from everyone else, and she doesn't much care. But when she aids Arthur to ascend to the throne before his time, she sets off a series of events that will change everything Morgana believes about her power. It's a nice big chunky book at 528 pages, and it is classified as historical fantasy. I am very interested in this book. Yeah. And I love the cover. I love the description. So high on my list. Okay. Editing Tammy. I forgot a book for fantasy. That would be The Cathedral of Lost Souls by Paula Braxton. This releases on November 11th. And I love Paula Braxton's writing. This is the second book in the Hectic Cavendish series. And I will read you the blurb. Hereford, England, 1881. The adventure continues. After the fire and the tumultuous events in the cathedral library, Hecate is determined never again to come so close to losing the beloved Mappamundi. She has shown herself to be the greatest threat to the Ascendes and their plans, and they will stop at nothing to be rid of her. With the help of her archaeologist, apparently I can't speak, father, and the support of the redoubtable and loyal Inspector Winter, she must take the fight to her enemies. But the members of the embodied spirits are growing with terrifying speed, and an atmosphere of violence and danger has taken hold of the ancient city of Hereford. Hecate dare not trust anyone beyond her inner circle, no matter how benevolent they might seem, nor will she risk the lives of those she loves ever again. The goddess Hecate has called her to action. She must draw upon all her gifts and the assistance of her family of ghostly allies, if the city is not to be lost to darkness forever. I'm intrigued. And releasing on the 18th of November is Violet Thistlethwaite is Not a Villain Anymore by Emily Krumpholtz. I have never read anything by her. However, that cover is everything. Yes, please. So, a plant witch and a grumpy alchemist must work together to save their town from a magical plague in this debut cozy fantasy romance about starting over, redemption, and what it really means to be a good person. Guy Shadowfade is dead, and after a lifetime as the Dark Sorcerer's right hand, Violet Thistlethwaite is determined to start over, this time as someone good. She settles into the quaint town of Dragon's Rest to open a flower shop, keep her sentient, mildly homicidal houseplant in check, and prune dark magic from her life. But though Violet soon charms the townsfolk, Nothing seems to impress prickly yet dashing handsome Nathaniel Marsh, a struggling alchemist with no patience for the witch next door. When a mysterious blight threatens Dragon's Rest, Violet and Nathaniel must work together through their fears, pasts, and growing feelings for one another to save their community. But Violet can't help but wonder, does a former villain truly deserve a happily ever after? Okay, this cover has everything. I love the little blurb on the cover, and it says, "Every thorn has its roses." Just a lovely little twist on the old saying. So, yes, I am here for it. So, let us talk about the books about books. First up would be The French Bookshop Murder by Greg Moss. And this is the first in the French Village mystery series. It is a new series and new to me author as well. But we all know I love a book about books. So Zoe Pascal has decided to live her dream, leave England, and open a bookshop in a small village in the south of France. She wants to spend her later years in life eating croissant, reading her beloved books, and getting to know her charming new hometown. When the body of a tourist is found inside the local church, Zoe begins to discover that something is afoot in the village of St. Catherine. And as the last person to have seen the deceased alive, Zoe suddenly becomes a prime suspect in a murder investigation. Can she prove her innocence and discover the real murderer? Or will Zoe have to say au revoir to her French countryside dream? Yes, please. Next up would be A Very Bookish Murder by Dee MacDonald. Name is familiar. I don't recall reading anything by her. This is the third book in the Ally McKinley mystery series. And I'll read you the blurb. Welcome back to the tiny Highland village of Lochloran, where Ally McKinley, guest house owner and accidental detective, is about to stumble upon another dead body in her next case. When Ally McKinley hears that well-known novelist Jody Jones is going to host a writer's retreat at the hotel just down the road, she's delighted to offer rooms at her little guest house for some of the attendees. Ally is thrilled to join the group for one of the first sessions, but the retreat has barely begun before she finds the famous writer strangled in the ladies' bathroom. The cake tin and the teapot come out as Ally begins to question her bookish guests. Accusations of plagiarism and infidelity start flying, and it's clear that more than one of the retreat attendees had a grudge against Jody. But could any of them have resorted to murder? When Ally discovers a diary in Jody's bedroom at the guest house with several pages ripped out of it, she thinks she's close to cracking the case. The plot only thickens when another of the aspiring writers is found dead only hours after she said she knew the identity of Jody's killer. Not only is the murderer still in Lochloran, they are desperate to stop Ally getting to the truth. With her faithful puppy Flora by her side, can Ally unravel the clues and solve the mystery before she's written out of the story for good? Okay, so next up would be The Librarians by Sherry Thomas. This releases on the 30th of September, and it's a book about librarians. Murder disrupts the routine for four quirky librarians who hide among books to keep their secrets. Sometimes a workplace isn't just a workplace, but a place of safety, understanding, and acceptance. And sometimes murder threatens that sanctuary of the sanctity of that beloved refuge. In the leafy suburbs of Austin, Texas, a small branch library welcomes the public every day of the week. But the patrons who love helpful, unobtrusive staff and leave rave reviews on Yelp don't always realize that their librarians are human too. Hazel flees halfway across the world for what she hopes will be a new beginning. Jonathan, a 6'4" former college football player, has never fit in anywhere else. Astrid tries to forget her heartbreak by immersing herself in work, but the man who ghosted her 6 months ago is back, promising trouble. Sophie, who has the most to lose, maintains a careful and respectful distance from her coworkers, but soon that won't be enough anymore. When two patrons turn up dead after the library's inaugural murder mystery themed game night, the librarian's quiet routines come crashing down. Something sinister has stirred, something that threatens every single one of them. And the only way the librarians can save the library and themselves is to let go of their secrets, trust one another, and band together. All in a day's work. That sounds fun and engaging and, well, not that far from my house, right up the road in Austin there. Good hour north, so plus. Okay, the next one I have pre-ordered and it will be here by the time it releases. That would be Book'em Eddie by Lori Cass. This is the 13th book in the Bookmobile Cat series. We all know I love this series immensely, and I will read you the blurb. When catastrophe strikes, Minnie and her trusty rescue cat Eddie will have to read between the lines to solve a murder in the newest Bookmobile Cat mystery. The Chilson Library Bookmobile has a new stop on its route, Honey Hollow Adult Foster Care. When Minnie learns that Honey Hollow is just down the road from an enclave of gorgeous Victorian homes, she decides she has to take a look, especially after she learns about identical houses that stood side by side and were owned by twin siblings. But when Minnie and Eddie in the bookmobile take their scenic detour, Eddie uncharacteristically escapes from the bookmobile and finds a woman in the woods, horribly wounded with an arrow. Though Minnie desperately calls 911, all too soon she realizes she was too late. The police seem ready to call the death a hunting accident, but Minnie can't shake the feeling that foul play was involved, particularly given the woman's final whispered words. With evidence lacking, Minnie and Eddie will have to claw their way through a thicket of suspects to find the truth. I'm here. No questions asked. I'm here. Next up would be Death on Dickens Island by Alison Brooke. This is the first book in Books on the Beach mystery series. I have read this author before. I've read her other series, which takes place in a library in Connecticut. Cannot recall the name of it, but I enjoyed it. So I will read you the blurb. A divorced sleuth in her 30s must bring peace back to her small town after a murder tears neighbors and family members apart in this series' debut. Delilah Dickens has come home to Dickens Island, a small island in the Long Island Sound, after a 12-year stint in Manhattan. She's looking forward to helping her father revitalize the general store that the family owns, as well as curating a small book nook. Most importantly, she wants to reunite with her 15-year-old son. But Dickens Island isn't the peaceful town Delilah remembers. She might be in more danger here than she ever was in the big city. Delilah's Aunt Renee and Uncle Brad, both prominent community leaders, are at odds over the sale of a farm and its future use. This has created friction, not only in their marriage, but amongst the citizens of the town. When a young woman, new to the town council and friendly with Brad, is found murdered, everything escalates and reaches a new boiling point. With Rennie and Brad both suspects in the case and at each other's throats, the townspeople start to take sides. When the ghost of her grandmother visits her, Delilah learns how past events have impacted the present, and it is up to her to expose the farm's sordid secrets in order to catch a murderer and restore peace to her beloved island. I will tell you there was a ghost in her other series, and there was no haunting, there was no mischief. It was just a former librarian who didn't want to leave the library and was completely benign, and I have no qualms about reading this book series. Okay, up next, or the last one for this video, is All My Bones by PJ Nelson. This releases on the 2nd of December, and this is a new to me author, and it is in the Old Juniper Bookshop Mystery Series, and I will read you the blurb. It looks like this is a debut. Madeline Brimley, new owner of a bookstore in a small Georgia town, finds herself playing sleuth when a friend is charged with the murder of a much disliked woman. Madeline Brimley inherited a bookstore in Enigma, Georgia, is embarking on her second career. After the first one, acting, founders upon the metaphorical rocks. Settling in, Madeline recruits her friend Gloria Coleman, the local Episcopal priest, to help her plant azaleas in the front yard, the old Victorian that houses the bookstore. Turning the soil, however, uncovers the body of one Beatrice Glassy, a troublesome woman who has been missing for the past 6 months. When her friend Gloria is arrested for the murder, Madeline is determined to prove her innocence, and as she quickly finds out, there aren't many people in town who hadn't wanted to kill B. Glassy at one point or another. And the very expensive and rare first edition of a particular volume of Grimm's fairy tales, ordered by the victim and her sister, is somehow tied to the Grimm death. With the help of her not-quite boyfriend, a local lawman, and her deceased aunt's best friend, Madeline plans to set a trap to catch the real murderer before she becomes the next victim. Okay. Yes. I need to know. So, those are all of the upcoming releases that piqued my interest for fantasy and books about books and or librarians. Any of these catch your attention? If so, leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.